Welcome to the Misfit One Lifestyles with Elizabeth Colin. She will awaken and connect with your Misfit One. Are you tired of the ups and downs in your life? Are you ready to live a healthy lifestyle once and for all? We are talking about all aspects of your life. Being fit is not just physical, it's also your mind and soul. Learn how to take steps in your life to move towards your goals. Elizabeth's goal is for everyone listening to the sound of her voice to get fit. Let's get focused, let's get intentional, and let's transform. Now here's your host, Elizabeth Colin.
Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Misfit One Lifestyles with your host, Elizabeth Colin, also known as Misfit One. But listen, I want you guys to really pay attention because I am talking to someone who is going to totally dive in. Get it? Dive in. Today we are talking to Elaine Howley. She is an award-winning freelance journalist and writer and an avid swimmer. And we're going to go into that. But before we do, welcome. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Listen, tell the people a little bit about you.
Yeah, well, as you said, I'm a freelance journalist. I do a lot of health and fitness writing. I also do some sports writing, and one of my favorite things to do is to write about the history of sports. And I'm also a swimmer. I do a lot of open water swimming. I grew up as a pool swimmer, but when I got my family would always go down to the Jersey Shore for a week each summer. And so I really fell in love with the ocean then. And then in college, I lifeguarded on the Jersey Shore for several summers, and that really kind of solidified the deal.
Right.
And eventually I made the transition to competing in open water. And over the course of the years, I have done a lot of ultra long distance stuff and also some ice swimming.
Oh my gosh. Listen, you have given us so much to talk about because I'm gonna pop back to some things here, right?
Sure.
Were you talking about how your favorite is writing about the history of sports?
Mm-hmm.
Tell us a little bit about that. How did you get into that?
Yeah, it kind of it just sort of serendipity. I mean, one path leads to another, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh, this is a beat now. I write stories about the history of sports, and marathon swimming is kind of a key focus. Because what I found was as I was exploring more in this space, I kept coming across the names of some and these incredible stories that come out of this space of people like Gertrude Ederle, the first woman to swim the English Channel, which she did in 1926. She and her sister actually designed her own bathing suit. Her sister went down to Paris and got fabric, and they sewed this swimsuit that was rather scandalous for the moment because it was she had a bare midriff. So like things like that just really kind of piqued my curiosity. So I began delving deeper and deeper into it, and I found just such a wealth of amazing characters in this space. And it's reflected in the fact that the community today, I think, is in a lot of ways very similar because it's a very diverse, open, welcoming community with all kinds of wackadoodle characters with interesting stories who do amazing things. And when you get a bunch of swimmers together talking about swims they've done, there's usually some really interesting tidbits that come out. So
I know. That's what I'm so excited to speak to you about. I mean, not, you are this incredible, incredible writer. We know that. You got all these award-winning things. But my peak, the thing that made me go, oh my gosh, I gotta talk to her, is how you completed the triple crown of open water swimming solo across the Catalina and the English. Listen, are you saying Catalina like Catalina Island?
Yep, that's the one. Yeah. Yeah, that was my first major channel swim, and it's wild the way they do it. They make you swim at night. You jump off,
Please.
I'm not even kidding, I'm not making this up. You jump off the back of a perfectly good boat into the middle of the Pacific in the pitch black darkness at midnight. That's how they start the swim.
Well, for people who do not get this, is that's where Natalie was the actress.
That's right.
Fell off, and we vacation there all the time, and every time I'm there I'm thinking, oh my gosh, the night swimming had to be terrifying, but you didn't swim it in the daytime. Can you tell the audience a little bit, first of all, how this happened and what's going through your mind as a solo, like you're going doing this all by yourself, nobody's, you're not swimming with a group of people.
Mm-mm. No, I was the lone swimmer in the water. I did have a boat next to me, a motorboat, and a kayaker for most of the swim, which actually at the beginning was my husband, and he was being horribly seasick off the kayak. So after a couple of hours of that, I told him to get back in the boat before he became a liability. But um, yeah, you just marathon swimming is to do it the traditional way means no wetsuit, no supportive aids like buoys or fins or snorkels or anything like that. It's really supposed to be, you versus the elements. So I'm just in a regular bathing suit, a cap, a pair of goggles, and that's it. And you jump off the boat, you swim to the beach because the boat can only get so close into shore. So you have to, when I jumped off that boat, like it took me a good minute or two before I jumped off to start the swim because we're sitting there. I'd been a little seasick on the ride over. The boat is doing this, and
Yeah.
it's dark, and they've got this spotlight trained on this rocky, empty beach on some place I've never been. I'd never been to Catalina before, so like I had no idea what was going on. And the beach was about 50 yards away, so I needed to jump off the back of the boat, swim to the beach because these swims you have to go dry land to dry land. So you have to swim to the beach just to start the swim. So just before I jump off the boat, I see a school of flying fish. And I was like, oh, that's kind of cool. And then
Yeah.
I see the sea lions chasing the flying fish. And I was like, okay, that's a little less cool. And then my mind goes, what's chasing the sea lions? There's sharks. There's definitely sharks here. And I was like, oh God, oh God. I was so terrified when I finally jumped off that step and I just head up, swimming to that beach, screaming. And I'm going, whose idea was this? This is a terrible idea. I got to the beach. I had to go through some kelp, which was also very distressing because it was like, you're
Yes,
swimming
it's, I
through.
always feel like somebody's pulling on you, like somebody's
Yeah.
touching you and wrapping all around you. You're like, what in the
Exactly, exactly. And like, am I waking up something that's got teeth? Like, what is happening here? So I get on the beach and I'm like, okay, all right, I survived. And then I turned around and I realized, oh God, not only do I have to swim back through the kelp, but I've got another 20 miles to go until I'm back
wow.
mainland. So if I'm going to actually do this, I need to put my head down and go. So that's what I did. I just shoved off. And within a few minutes, once I cleared the kelp again, within a few minutes, I started to see bioluminescence in the water. And like every time I'd put my hand in, I would get like the warp speed stars, like from Star Wars. It was like this light effect, because when you they're chromatophores or different different little creatures that have
Yes.
glowing things in their bodies, and when they get agitated, they light up. And it was just absolutely mesmerizing. And so once I saw that, I calmed right down and I was like, oh, this is so cool because I'd never seen anything like that before. And then so I just happily swam for the next 10 hours and 57 minutes and I got to the beach.
Prepare for this, I am like, and this is not the only most outstanding thing that I've heard. Like this is like mind-blowing to me. Because I know Catalina Island. I know it's not like da da da. It is huge.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
is huge and massive and we've seen the flying fish, and we've seen the seals, and we know they're sharks.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yep.
how do one prepare for this?
So I had to do a lot of training, just to get trained up to swim. It's a little over 20 miles the way the course runs. So, first off, there's like the physical training of getting yourself up to that capacity for just volume of exercise. But I think the more important thing even than that is getting your head right and learning how to manage when things become difficult or painful or uncomfortable. I think is probably a better word than painful. When you're in that discomfort zone or you're feeling uncertain whether or not you've got the capacity to get there, learning how to cope with those feelings and push through is a really key part of the training. And then, like for Catalina, I just plain did a lot of swimming at night to get more comfortable with swimming in the dark. When you remove a whole sense, you're like, if you can't see anything, how else are you going to stay oriented in space so you don't get dizzy and so you don't get
I
lost?
would I would totally be swimming right back to the place I started off. Like I did it. They're like, ma'am, no, you went you went the wrong way. We're gonna have to start. Yeah, wait a minute. Because I would be afraid that you brought up a great point of how do you stay on track?
Yeah.
Because anybody who has swam in the ocean, first of all, know that the waves and stuff are pushing
Mhm.
you and you are going, I mean, anybody, think about it when you're on the beach and you're playing in the water, your picnic table is one place, you look up and you're several feet down and you go, oh, how did I get there? So how
Mhm.
do you stay on track in
Yeah.
the dark?
Yeah, well, it all comes back to the boat, your guide boat. Hopefully there's an experienced captain who understands what the water is doing and how to forge a course that's going to land you where you want to land, across those different currents and tides. There's a lot of logistics and planning that goes into, when do you start, and how fast is the swimmer, how big is the tide going to be, and that dictates, when exactly you're going to start and whether you're going to kind of go angled or this way. And, because sometimes land might be straight ahead, but you've got to swim sideways to get there. It just depends on the.
Right.
Mhm.
I mean, guys, is she not badass or is she not badass? Because listen, I think I'm tough, but there's no way in God's green earth that I'm jumping in the ocean at night to swim off a perfectly safe boat that she said,
Uh-huh.
a
Uh-huh.
perfectly working boat.
Uh-huh. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Man, now that's courage, I tell you. That is so courage. And not only do you do that, like um you you swim in ice.
Hmm. Yeah.
Oh, now, come on. So the ice swimming, let's talk about that a little bit because I I can't even do the ice bath challenge. How did you come up? First of all, how did you decide that, yeah, okay, I can swim all this. I've done all the other stuff in the dark. I could do this. What made you say, I'm gonna jump in the ice? It wasn't swimming in the dark wasn't a big enough challenge for you?
Yeah, well, I think initially for me, the appeal with doing an ice mile, they had this thing where if you swam a mile in water that was 41 degrees or less without a wetsuit, like that's the official definition of an ice mile, 5 degrees Celsius or colder, no neoprene or anything for a mile. If you did that and it was like officially observed and sanctioned, you could then wear the red jacket. And I'll be honest, I'm kind of all about the swag. So I wanted to get the red jacket. I needed to earn a red jacket. So I did. And this was a relatively new concept. My friend Ram had launched the International Ice Swimming Association in South Africa back in, I think it was 2010 when they officially launched. I met him in 2011 and I was really intrigued by what he was talking about. And I thought, wow, that's a different kind of frontier to push. Like I know I can do distance. I know I'm pretty good at cold water, but how cold is cold? So I was really kind of intrigued by, what that challenge might be like. So I just decided to go for it.
Again, I got so many questions. I know y'all do. Like, I got so many questions. Oh, because first of all, the ocean is cold though. Like
Mhm.
I can't even get in the water. I'm from California. My kids was raised in California, born and raised in California. I moved to turned 18 in California, so I wasn't really adapted to that type of water. So I
Mhm.
could never get in. Like I can't. But so that water is already cold.
Mhm. Mhm.
And so, how did you prepare for the ice mile? That I'm telling you, this is crazy to me. Like crazy.
Yeah. Well, a lot of it is your body is way more capable of stuff than you might give it credit for. It's
Uh-huh.
all in how you help it adapt, and so with something like the ice swimming, I generally advise people when they ask, give it 2 seasons. You need to swim down, so we call it swimming down the temperature. So you swim all summer, you get comfortable in the temperatures in the summer, and then you keep going for as long as you can tolerate in the fall and into the winter. And over the course of lots of sessions of training, you adapt, you learn to tolerate the cold, you learn how to cope with it, you learn what your body is doing, and when this pinky looks like that, or when that little muscle pops out
Yeah.
on the back of my shoulder, it's time to get out. Those sorts of things. You learn all that, you learn what your body's language is for coping with this, and you learn to trust it, where because we are actually really well designed to be able to cope with cold. It's just most of us don't have any call to in our daily lives. And I think actually, they're doing a lot of research into this now, but there's actually some real health benefits to stressing yourself in that way, in a controlled way. You have to be
Right.
careful, of course. You don't want to do anything foolish or rush it, but if you give your body time to adapt, there are some positive aspects to it.
Yeah, and my whole platform is living fit, and when I say live fit, I mean focus plus intentional equals transformation.
Yeah.
And if that is not you, I don't know what is. Like you, you focused on something, and then you moved with intentions towards it, and totally transformed. Transformed, not transformed what we think. I'm
Mhm.
saying, I don't know if you see the transformation for yourself, but the transformation of what the world thinks.
Mhm.
And I think, like you just said about cold, there's no way in God's green earth that I felt that I could capable of cold. But the way you said it made me go, okay, you're right.
Mhm.
We are capable. Not that I'm gonna try it though, but I believe you. I believe you. So how do you take this passion for swimming and how you just went into it like with intention? How does that come across in your day-to-day life with your personal growth and your achievement? How does that correlate?
Oh yeah, I think there's a really direct one-to-one correlation in a lot of ways because and I've said this from time to time, like if I'm dealing with something stressful or I'm faced with a challenge or something, I'll often say to myself, head down, ass up, let's go, just power through it. Sometimes the only way out is through. Like you don't get out until you reach the beach, and this is something that my husband started saying to me at some point because he's often on my boat as my crew, and he'll be in charge of like throwing me feeds and stuff, and if I start asking too many questions or he thinks I'm getting like fidgety or whiny or something, he'll just be like, just keep swimming until something happens. And I think that's life in a nutshell. You just keep swimming until something happens, and then you cope with it. And then you get back to the swimming.
Wow, I love this. And it is so amazing because, you know, the way you tackle it, you
Mhm.
know, because I'm totally loving this. What do you say? Head down, ass up. I love it because, you know, when in life, when we are focusing or when we are in the midst of a crisis or something that is discomforting to us, we tend to put our, like we're struggling to breathe, you know. But
Mhm.
if you put your head down, put your ass up and keep working, you got this, right? So
Right,
can
just
you
power
tell
through.
people, give us like 3 things that really we can do in our day to day? I'm loving this because now I'm like, oh my gosh, you have so many amazing adventures and things that you have been through. 3 things to help people stay connected and moving forward.
Yeah. Well, I think a lot of it comes back to that original intention. Why are you there in the first place? And is that intention still suiting you? Because sometimes you might end up in a place like I've had a few swims that haven't gone according to plan, and I've had to get out. And that's okay too. Not a, like I tell people, if we were guaranteed to succeed, what would be the point of doing it in the first place?
Ah,
Some days it's just not your day. So you get out and you live to swim another day. So I think first takeaway is, assess if where you are right now is where you really should be. Why are you putting yourself through this?
wow.
And then once, if you decide that, no, I do still really want to pursue this goal, then I think you need to just really recommit. And that's where like the head down, ass out comes in. You've got to really just, only way out is through, just keep going. Um, and then I think probably my third would be, particularly for really big things or like a project that's god awful that seems to go on forever, big messy ongoing thing. Um, Along the way, when you have like a little success, like take a second to recognize that you got to that point, that you're now 3/4 of the way across the channel instead of standing on the beach looking at it. Like recognize that you've made some progress. It may not have been as smooth as you wanted, but you're still going, you're still swimming, just keep going.
Oh my gosh. That's, oh God. That is so good. I love every one of those people. You're welcome. I hope you wrote those down because that is so important. Ask yourself those questions. I mean, Elaine, that's so true. We do it all the time. You know, people think that is only successes, right? The first thing you said is bam, just fire, fire. Do you really want to do this? I've done projects that I was like, yeah, nah, I don't want to do that. Scratch it.
Yep.
Start again, right? So I
Mhm.
love that. Is that's where you are right now. Secondly, you said if it is something you want to do, recommit.
Mhm.
That is so profound because a lot of times we forget the commitment that we made in the beginning, right? We're like all hunky-dory. We
Yeah.
going to do
Yeah.
it. And then we're like, what the hell? Why am I?
This is really hard.
This is really hard. What am I doing? And, you know, and then it's like, okay, I can do this. And we recommit. And then the third thing she said was to really celebrate the little successes.
Mhm.
Make sure that you are giving yourself that pat on the back
Mhm.
because you're not just standing on the beach anymore.
Mm. Mm-mm. You're in there with the jellyfish.
That's the kind of like he crying.
Exactly. I get asked a lot if I'm afraid of sharks. And no, I'm not afraid of sharks, but jellyfish terrify me. I hate jellyfish.
Because
Sharks, not worried.
and why is that?
Well, because with sharks, sure, if they bite you, you're probably gonna die. I mean, that's just physics. Um, but we're not actually on the menu. Like this is all a Steven Spielberg construct. There is no man-eating shark. They don't want like us. We're not juicy enough. They like a nice squishy seal. We're not that. So it's always, always, always mistaken identity. It's never an
Oh, right.
attack. It's
Yeah.
always, an unfortunate interaction. So if you try to stay out of their way, they're probably going to stay out of your way. And when you're doing a swim like this, I smell bad. There's a lot of noise around me that, there's lights, there's weird things. Like most self-respecting sharks are probably going to take a look. Looks like trouble. I'm out of here. Jellyfish don't have brains though, so they are just going to float into me. They are not intelligent.
I literally was thinking that, but I wanted to hear it because I love that you said that because my husband always say, be like a shark, have a plan. A shark knows what they're going for. They know they're going for that seal. They're
Mhm.
not floating around, but a jellyfish has no plans, has no, it is just floating around. Like you said, has no brain. So listen, that is the best analogy ever. Because that is so true. I want to say just thank you again so much for coming on. And how can we stay connected with you?
Sure. Well, I have a website, ElaineKHowley.com. I'm on LinkedIn. I'm on Instagram. My Instagram handle is EMK Howley. And that was, I don't generally believe in resolutions, but that was my 2024 resolution, was to get a little bit better about posting on Insta more frequently.
Yay.
I'm trying to figure out how it works. I'm definitely a Gen Xer, so this is taking a minute.
You know what's so funny is that I think that's probably everybody's resolution is like get better on Insta, right? Because that's the thing. That's the thing to do. I again thank you so much for coming on and talking to us. And before we wrap it up, I want to ask you two questions. First, what does your self-care look like? You do a lot. So
I
how do you
do.
take care of yourself?
Yeah, well, I naps are my favorite thing in the world. So if I can sneak in a nap somewhere, and like for me, a nap isn't like 20-minute cat nap on the couch. Like I'm down for 2 hours. Like I've got to do
Yes.
schedule and stuff. So it doesn't happen often, but I find naps, especially naps in the sun, to be extraordinarily restorative. And I think too, the swimming itself is a big part of my self-care. I mean, it definitely helps with relieving stress and just day to day managing my life a little better.
That's pretty cool. That's a good one. Naps. Naps is a good one. And they do say I can't take naps. If I'm asleep in the middle of the day, I'm sick. Like something's wrong.
Yeah.
But they said the best nap is 20 minutes. No, I'm angry after 20 minutes. Why did you wake me up?
Like, I've
Right?
only just fallen asleep. Why do I get up again?
No, this is not working for me. So I love that. And I love the fact that what you do and have been so successful at the swimming is also the thing that is calming for you.
Yeah.
That's pretty deep. Like
Yeah.
deep. Get it?
Get
Ocean.
deep.
So, and the last question is is there any last words of wisdom you would like to leave us with?
Hmm. Well, I think another key component of all of the swimming and everything I do is that I've got great support. I've got an amazing community around me. I've got some amazing women who, cheer me on and support me. I've got an awesome husband and family that just, they are really willing to support whatever it is I'm going after. So I think if you can do one thing, is choose your people wisely, do your best to get a core team around you that's going to cheerlead for you no matter how rough it gets.
Bam, drop mic right there. I know for a fact that now I'm one of the women that's going to be cheering you on. I am now team Elaine. Thank you again. I really appreciate you and keep shining. You are doing amazing things.
Well, thank you so much. This was a real joy. I appreciate it.
You are so welcome. You guys, it's your girl, Elizabeth Colin. Until next week, live fit. I hope you enjoyed this episode of Misfit One Lifestyles. Listen, when you are fed up and sick and tired of living this stifled, overwhelmed, and overstressed life, and you're ready to live the fullest, richest, and healthiest life by gaining more confidence, more energy, and more clarity, living in your best self, you know what to do, right? Go ahead, go to my website, misfit1.com. Sign up for our online courses, Creating a Healthy Habit, so that you too can live fit, focus, move with intention, and transform your life.